NRATV with Bill Whittle.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Hot Mike Show here on NRATV. I'm Bill Whittle, live from Los Angeles. Hot Mike can't be here today. He's made it to the quarterfinals of the extreme tanning competition down on Venice Beach, and we certainly wish him well. Expect him back tomorrow. Today's episode is entitled Jamey Johnson Stands His Ground. He does indeed. I have to tell you, I'm not a huge country music follower, but I'm going to be a follower of this guy now. Jamey Johnson, as you probably know, is a blues player, country music artist. And Jamey Johnson had a date at the House of Blues down in Myrtle Beach, Florida. And here's the thing. Apparently, this is the story we're able to reconstruct. The House of Blues had set up a metal detector backstage so that the band members would have to go through the metal detector in order to get into the venue. Now, let's make sure we're clear on this. As I understand it now, that metal detector was not there for the audience, just basically for the stage members. Well, as it turns out, Jamey Johnson is the kind of guy who goes around armed, and when they told him he couldn't take his weapon into the venue, he said, well, if I can't take my weapon into the venue, then there's not going to be a show tonight. And he kind of stood his ground. They canceled the show, and here we are talking about it. Now, this is really interesting for a number of reasons, but let's start out with, we'll go from the ridiculous to the sublime. This is a statement from the House of Blues Myrtle Beach management after the incident. They said, as always, the safety and security of our guests is our number one priority. Tonight's artist refused to adhere to our safety and security guidelines and would not enter the building. Unfortunately, tonight's show is canceled. Now, needless to say, we've had a lot of conversations on my show, Grant's show, on the network in general, about the entire idea of gun-free zones and how fundamentally absurd it is to think that somebody who's, for whatever reason, made up their mind to go out and, gun down 30 people is going to be deterred by a sign. I don't suspect they'd be deterred by a non-parking sign either. Can't park here. I don't think that's going to slow them down. But put that aside for a second, because the thing that's most interesting here is that, again, as the story reads now, this metal detector was only put up for the band members, wasn't put up for the people who were coming in through the main door. That's insane. No wonder he got so upset. I'll tell you who else got upset. Another guy sounds like a terrific patriot. Tony T.C. Coleman is the drummer for Jamey Johnson's band. Here's what Tony T.C. Coleman had to say in part after this incident. I stand with him on this. House of Blues didn't need to treat us like we were terrorists. They put a metal detector between Jamey's buses and the stage entrance, and the only people coming in and out of his buses was us. His band and crew, and we all have laminated stage identification. We did not come to the House of Blues to be treated like we're going to kill the fans. Oh, God. Let me just say that again. We did not come to the House of Blues to be treated like we are going to kill the fans. If someone came backstage to harm anybody, you'd better pray there's a Jamey Johnson type individual around. So, what do we know about Jamey Johnson? Some of you who may be fans of his know an awful lot about him. Some of you, like me, didn't know an awful lot about him. So here's a quick little 2-minute look at the man who decided to stand his ground for his constitutional rights down in the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, Florida.
I'm a country music singer, songwriter, and I tour with my band. And I always look forward to my next time fishing. I am Jamey Johnson, and I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. It's my access to the way Alabama was, and I think that human experience combined with my own is what my music turns out to be. It's a lot of blues, it's a lot of country, it's a lot of rock and roll in ways. It's just a lot of me. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in the country music industry. I don't know that I don't fit in I do quite prefer to do things on my own, aside from any industry. I'm a very industrious person. I'm more of a singer and a songwriter, and I have a pickup truck and a gas card. And that's why I get around and play my music for people, and I enjoy meeting people, and I enjoy singing. The parts about it that I didn't enjoy, I really didn't enjoy at all, and so I quit doing those parts. I think it's okay to, to be my level of success, or my level of celebrity, or whatever. I chose this for me. I could be a lot bigger. There's ways to go about becoming more popular. I don't want to do that. That's got nothing to do with writing songs, and it's got nothing to do with traveling and singing or being me. And I'm not willing to give up the parts of me that I'd have to give up to gain things like that. I don't want to be famous.
I'm not willing to give up the parts of me that I'd have to give up in order to gain things like that. And that's pretty much the stand he took down there. And in the culture wars, this is actually a pretty big deal. Now, there's an awful lot to like about Jamey Johnson. He seems like a straight ahead, real world, down to earth, all American guy. But exquisite and elegant are not two words I think would immediately come to mind when you look at Jamey Johnson. So why would we apply those two adjectives to our guest today? Well, Kelly Carlson is a friend of mine from out here in Los Angeles. We got to know each other many years ago. Kelly Carlson had a very large role on a series called Nip Tuck not too long ago. Nip Tuck was a show about plastic surgeons and plastic surgery and all of the vanity that goes on in Hollywood and so on. And I got a chance to meet Kelly and found Kelly Carlson and Jamey Johnson to be very, very similar people. Very down to earth, very patriotic, very straight ahead, real people. So it's an absolute pleasure to welcome my friend Kelly Carlson here to the Hot Mic Show. Kelly, how are you?
Hi, Bill. Good. How are you?
I'm doing just great, thanks. That we try to stay on top of the news cycle as much as we can. And when we heard a story today about a person who was show business who refused to surrender their weapon, I thought, wait a minute, show business weapons, oh my God. Kelly Carlson was out on a range kicking my butt not too long ago, just making me look like a complete amateur. So we wanted to bring you in. You do a fair amount of shooting, don't you, Kelly?
I do, because of my husband, but I love it anyways. But like probably everybody, I could do a lot more as well.
I just want to tell the folks at home about your husband, because the story of the two of you, to me, is like one of the very few actual happy endings in Hollywood. Very, very briefly, Kelly, as you can imagine, had a lot of fans, and some of those fans can sometimes cross line, be a little bit nutty, and she decided to get some extra security. And I first met her husband when he was basically just going to events with Kelly, just minding his own business. And I am embarrassed and delighted to say that at a couple of events, I would be sitting there with some other friends, and we'd be telling our true tales of adventure, about the time I had an engine failure, and then somebody be talking about something else, like this is how it goes. And her husband was just eating a salad. He didn't have a word to say, not a word. Found out later that Kelly ended up getting married to a special forces soldier who's actually just been deployed. I don't want to get any more details than that, but this guy's the absolute tip of the spear. He's one of the best people I ever met, and I was so happy to see a world where the Hollywood princess gets the real guy gets her, not some horrible, wretched, disgusting producer person. So Kelly, having seen that kind of strength and married it, what do you think about that statement that Tony T.C. Coleman said? If someone came backstage to harm anybody, you'd better pray there's a Jamey Johnson type individual around, because you're definitely married to a Jamey Johnson type individual.
Yeah, I am. And thank God for him, because I had a real serious problem. And it was only up until he was working with me that threat, was alleviated. And it's kind of like I'm so shocked with Live Nation. I'm so shocked. You know what? I'm gonna get to that in a minute. I have a question for you, Bill. Maybe you know the answer to this. Do they put
Seems unlikely, but we could try.
Do they put the metal detectors in front of every single artist's bus when they get out of the bus?
That is
Every single artist?
That is the first question I asked. That is the first question I asked. I suspect not. Now, I don't want to go out on a limb with this, but I can't make any sense of it otherwise. When I first got the details of this, and I said, why would they put a metal detector on the only people who we know are coming to the event, who have actually been invited to the event, and the people who have a reputation and who we know how to reach? Doesn't make any sense. And then it occurred to me that it was just barely possible that perhaps somebody was trying to make a point there, you know? Somebody was trying to teach us their moral superiority about all of these things. I suspect that's a possibility, Kelly. What do you think?
I agree with you. Look, I have friends that work with Live Nation. I know the people that run Live Nation, and they're all good people. But I also know security teams for very big artists, very big. And I've gone to a lot of the concerts, and I've never seen metal detectors where the artists have to go through before they enter the venue. I've never seen that. I bet my life that a good friend of mine carries, because the person he protects is a massive artist, massive. And he used to work for the State Department. I can't even imagine that this guy would not carry. And it makes me wonder if they did it on purpose. It's a little discrimination, if you will, or something. I'm speculating, but
I am too, but it sounds like somebody's picking a fight. You mentioned that somebody really major that you know is protected by somebody who's pretty much armed all the time, and this is common knowledge. We talk about this on NRATV quite a lot. Can you give us a little bit of kind of insight? I know you don't feel this way yourself, but I've often gotten the impression from many celebrities, progressive celebrities who are completely against guns whatsoever, except for the people, of course, that are carrying guns to protect their lives. I've gotten this weird sense, Kelly, that it's almost a perk for them. It's almost a perk of being famous. I get to hire somebody to protect my life because my life is extremely valuable. As you know, I'm a famous celebrity and I've appeared in many movies. That's not the same as those hayseeds and those rubes out there who have no real reason to be able to defend or reason to want to defend their lives. It strikes me that a lot of the times that I see Hollywood celebrities coming out against guns while they have their own armed protection, I can't think of another reason to explain this hypocrisy.
I can't either. It's a total disassociation and a departure from any kind of logic. Bill, the people that I associate with in Hollywood are nothing like this. I know they exist, where people, there is like a social hierarchy of some kind in some people's minds, right? I know that there are the people out there that think that they're worth saving, right? It's a special exemption. They have special gifts. They bring special things to the world, and it needs to be protected. But I also know, and so do you, especially one man in particular who is, he's a legend, and he would never for a second think anybody is any less than him. And this, who I'm talking about. This man is a legend. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
yep, that man. Yeah, he's never lost track of the fact that just because he became an extremely famous actor didn't elevate him above the rest of the population on some moral or religious plane. He in fact, he sometimes you find celebrities who are acutely grateful for this. I remember Jimmy Stewart was a notable example of that.
Yeah. And I don't understand this hypocrisy. The only way I can maybe understand it is people have never experienced an actual threat before. but that's a
Yeah,
stretch.
let's talk about that for a second. No, it may not be a stretch at all, because NRATV spokesperson Dana Lash has been making quite a few waves on this subject for quite a long time, and rightfully so. And
Yeah.
and Dana, from the beginning, said, "Look, I do this because I was a gun saved my life, basically." And
Yeah.
that old saw about a conservative is a liberal who's been mugged. There's something to that, I think.
Right? It's true. And I've never been anti-firearm before ever in my life, but I experienced a situation where I needed one. I actually needed one. And I had an epiphany as to why it's more important to have that choice or that option, even though I never was, I just didn't have any experience with one. This was right before I met my husband. But yet at the same time, I understand the purpose of a firearm for protection to equalize the situation. I just don't understand why that doesn't resonate in most people's minds. I guess if you've never experienced
it's shocking.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I think about that all the time. All the time. So, and I don't have an answer. The only thing I can think of is, well, you've never felt impending doom before because of another individual.
Yeah. Here's something I find interesting, too, Kelly, because as I said, the reason I wanted to talk to you so much about this was this kind of weird sense that Hollywood has such completely different values than most of us. You may not have been known much about it when you started, but you sure do now. Your husband, as all of these people that I've met at that level, is exceedingly quiet, extraordinarily humble, has nothing to prove, and has no big stories to tell. Doesn't have to impress anybody because he actually does these things. Now, some people would say, okay, I had a legitimate stalker threat, and now I'm protected by this pretty tough guy, but you didn't take that path at all. I've seen you out on the range. There's just the three of us actually, and you are something to see. I kind of want to ever want to get on the bad side of you. So what made you make the decision that this was going to be a personal responsibility as well as just something nice to have around?
Oh, well, safety. I mean, number one, it's safety. I'm a strong believer. If you have firearms in your house, you should be very familiar with them, when possible. And but the other thing is I want that option. And thank God I have learned about firearms and all the different kind of firearms, because you don't just learn once and you got it. I mean, it's a perishable skill. And under duress, it's a whole other ball game. So even if someone took me to the range a couple times and I thought I had it, I know how to pull the trigger. When you are under duress, and I've tried to simulate as much duress as possible in training, you can just go blank. I mean, it is something you need to practice. And when you start handling firearms, and I'm preaching to the choir here, you realize that you're like, okay, whoa, this is complicated. It requires attention, patience, and you have to take it seriously. It's a firearm. It can injure me, and I don't want to harm anybody else. So I think it's just the respect of the mechanism that drives me to be as good at it as possible. Not because I want to hurt somebody. It's the opposite. I want to be super proficient so I don't hurt somebody, and God forbid I have to ever pull it out because I feel the need. I can be precise.
Yeah, that's a good word. Same thing for me in flight instructor. My flight instructor told me at the beginning of my training, Bill, if things really ever go south for you, you're going to revert to your reptile brain, and my job is to make sure that the reptile knows what's to do. That's what training really is. If you can stick with us, Kelly, we're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, I want to talk about the pressure of being somebody who thinks like you in a place like the one just over my shoulder here. This is the Hot Mike Show on NRATV, and we'll be right back.
I'm Coleon Noir, and inside this little black box is a new NRATV app. With it, you can stay up to date with all of your Second Amendment news and NRA lifestyle programming on your HD TV. So download it now. Don't worry, I'll wait.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Hot Mic Show. I'm Bill Whittle, and we're talking about Jamey Johnson standing his ground by refusing to surrender his firearm at a House of Blues concert down in Myrtle Beach. And we have with us my friend Kelly Carlson, who is in entertainment, much as Jamey Johnson is, and also is a person who's understood the value of firearms and very proficient with them. That's why I wanted to get her on the show. Now, Kelly, here's the thing. Jamey Johnson, as we saw from that segment earlier, he's from Alabama. He doesn't seem to have any worries about who he is or about his career. He sounds like a guy just wants to play his music. And I don't think that this kind of thing is going to cost him much among his fan base. In fact, it put me in his fan base. But it's different out here in Hollywood, isn't it? It's very different. Yeah. When you were working on Nip Tuck or any of the other shows and movies that you did you ever get the sense that you had to kind of hide your conservative beliefs simply because if you don't, it's not just a question you're going to get yelled at, you're just not going to work again?
Yeah. Yeah, that became apparent to me. Probably midway through the series. I drew that conclusion on my own. I didn't really talk about politics much. I remember one actress, I'm just not naming her name right now, but she said, yeah, I'm a communist, so what? And I was like, what? And I thought, oh, what do you mean? Like, what? I didn't, it was like, wait a second. Now I know that more than anything, because there was a particular red carpet where Kanye West had made a comment, this is like in 2005 or something, I can't remember what year, about George Bush wanting all black people dead. And of course,
it was 2005, right after Katrina.
Okay, yeah. And I'm walking down the red carpet with my publicist. Someone asked me this question, and I see Liza, my publicist, go, no, oh God, no, don't answer that, But I said, well, what an idiot. Who would say something so stupid? Like, Kanye, meaning, like, I can't even validate that with an actual response other than it was moronic. Well, you can Google it. I'm now racist in the paper the next day, all over the place. I'm racist because I was just, and really, where I was coming from was like, well, who would make that blanket comment like that about an entire race? Like, how stupid to accuse somebody of that, And yeah, I got called racist up and down, left and right. And that's when it landed on me. Oh, I sided with George Bush. And that's what happened to me.
Yeah, well, the left has one weapon only. When you're a one-trick pony, you got to know the trick, right? So it's not much. It's not much of a leap to make that connection. We're almost out of time, Kelly. Just very quickly. Yeah. Your husband's, I think, has just been deployed again. We know that's really hard, and I think that the people that never get enough credit are the families and the wives and daughters and moms and brothers and sisters. Any quick words for people who might be watching who have relatives deployed overseas in harm's way?
Well, this is my first time experiencing my husband deploying. I'm a total wreck. No, but like, I don't even know, because this is my first time. Gosh, if anybody has any words of wisdom, I need it, because it's not like I'm worried about his safety. I just don't like the thought that he may not be safe and I'm not there. So that drives me crazy. But I understand if any other wife is, having anxiety and they miss them, and boy, I'm going through it right now completely. So I'm with you.
Well, that was lovely. The problem for the families is that when you're deployed, you may be on base for 23 hours and then there's an hour of firefight, but but for the people that stay at home, they're in danger all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That never lets up. Kelly, it's so good talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd love to have you back again real soon.
Thank you, Bill. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Well, Jamey Johnson decided to keep his firearms, and Jamey Johnson stood up for what he believed in, and I admire anybody who stands up for what they believe in, but when they stand up for things like freedom and constitutional rights and the right to self-protection, self-determination, they certainly have my respect. So, Jamey, I don't know if it means anything to you, but you certainly got a new fan in me, and thank you for showing the rest of us that principles are more important than paychecks sometimes. That'll do it for Hot Mic today. I'm Bill Whittle. We will see you again tomorrow.